Hey, this is Sasha, and thanks for joining me in today's video. And today I want to share with you what's the difference between an author and an authorpreneur. Now, if you're looking to get into writing ebooks and making money from your ebooks, doing things back in the day, let's just say 50 years ago, was much different than it is today. Things have definitely changed over the life cycle of the way that things are done in the book industry. And if you're looking to make money from writing books, there's a whole different approach to it from the traditional mindsets that most people have. The world has changed, and now the industry has changed. So you have to adapt to be able to survive and be successful in the industry. So when you look to become an author nowadays, you actually are more than likely becoming an authorpreneur if you're looking to become successful in the book writing industry, and if you're looking to actually make a living from writing books, because it's a lot different than just writing a book and putting it up in back in the day. Nowadays there's just so much more involved in the book process, to the fact that it can be even overwhelming for some people that don't have the technical skills, the knowledge, or the know-how. So let me show you on paper here just some of the difference between just a general author or an authorpreneur, and maybe it'll give you some insights of what are some of the tasks and skill sets that you have to create for yourself, some of the tasks and skill sets that you also have to learn and then incorporate to build up a successful business, whether that's from writing ebooks or then building a business from a book and taking that business further, expanding that business from the book business model. So here, initially, when you look back in the old ways, when you used to be an author, all you really had to do was write the book, and then you kind of send it to your publisher and out comes the book. Now, you did have to do some other things beyond just writing. So you might have to also, do book signing. You might have to do some basic promotions, marketing, maybe a talk or travel and things like that. But the majority of what your effort involved was you write the book, you get a book, and then your publisher kind of would handle a lot of the other drama that goes along with it, a lot of the additional work. So your main purpose as the author was to write it, and then you get the book published, and the publisher handles a lot of the other factors and things like that. So the barriers initially were a little bit easier because you had one solid task and one main focus. Nowadays, if you want to be successful in making your money, because of, eventually the publisher then goes out and puts your book in stores and retailers and so forth. Nowadays, you actually have to become an authorpreneur. Okay, and what this means is you're not only writing the book, okay, so you have to write the book, but your next stage of the process is also to do the publishing. Okay, so the publishing also incorporates a couple of different things. So it could be an ebook, so you have to format that ebook or pay someone to handle that. Or you also have to create a print book. Okay, so that's part of publishing. Now, the other thing that's part of publishing is it could be an audio book. Okay, so that could be it. Now, the next part you might also need to do is part of the marketing process. Okay, so you now become the marketer for your book, whereas in the past the publisher would do more so of that. I mean, you might do some of the talking, the book signing, but nowadays you might need to have your own, let's just say, website. Okay, you might need to have your own email list or social media following. So you have to be more social, more engaging in that way. You might need to go out and do some of those speaking things. Now, there are sometimes you could bypass some of these steps and stages. So, for example, you could outsource some of this publishing part for a company, or get some middle person that could help you with, let's just say, putting out an ebook, a print book, and an audio book. But most of them do not do the marketing for you, so you're still kind of stuck with the marketing part of it, or a lot more so, because back in the day over here, even if you look at the 1960s, okay, you didn't have websites, right? So there was no website, there was no email to deal with. There was no mediums that you had to really go through, of social networking that you had to go through. So there was a lot less of that you had to do because your main focus right here was writing. But now when you look at it, it's beyond just writing that you have to do to become successful. You do have to write that book, and that book has to be great. But now you also have to kind of become the publisher. And even if you don't do this, you have to spend money to create these different formats. And even if you don't do one, now you have one less distribution channel. But then you also have to do the marketing for it, whether that's the website, the email marketing, the social marketing, the speaking for it, all these things. You still have to do all of those things. And then after you complete all these things, that's ultimately where you make your money. Now, there's a lot of other additional factors that go with this, because just like with building out a website and email, you might need 5 different people just for this. And with the publishing, you might need a person who speaks your book, or a person that, does the vocals for the audio files, and then another person who does the publishing. The same thing with the print. You might need a designer, and so on and so forth. Now, this, of course, you're looking more at self-publishing or an indie author, which is perfectly fine and okay. You could go to the traditional model, but nowadays most people do not go this route, and that is simply because the cost that's affected for it is very expensive. So the cost to get your book in a store now is just much more expensive. And the only way that the publishers do it these days is if you already have a website, an email list that's huge, if you've already been published in the past potentially and sold a lot of books. So it's almost, you need to become an authorpreneur first now, and then become the author. Because when you become that author, then you can go through the publishing agency and they'll handle a lot more of that. Now, they take more of the profits because it costs more, but they'll help you and handle more of that stuff. But now you need to become more of the authorpreneur, because you have to have these channels, simply because it's more cost effective now with the ebook formats, with the audio based and podcast formats. It's just much more cost effective to get those things going. So there's much more competitions with books, and books being released with print on demand, that you start here these days and then you get into the publishing world, simply because you can prove that you've gotten sales, the websites, the email list, and the following. So ultimately, that's what you need to do, is you need to become a writer, you need to become a publisher and a marketer in order to really get your book distributed, and that's how you become successful in the book industry. Because then what you do, so as you start looking at building out your book business and industry and using your book as part of becoming more successful, let's just say you sell 10,000 copies of your book. But this is a starting point to building out a business and to building out your structure within your business. Eventually, people will go to the next tier, right? And the next tier might be, you might have a course, or you might have a service. If you're doing roofing, you might have a service. But let's just say the book is $13, okay? The course or the service is, let's just say, $97. So now you might only sell, let's say, 500 worth of the courses or the service. And then you get to the next stage. Then you might get into the seminar. Okay, so if you do a seminar or maybe specialty clients, this might be more expensive. Let's just say it's $500, $1,000, whatever it is. But you might only get, let's say 100 people in that seminar or mastermind group. And then eventually you could get into coaching or something along those lines. And now you might get 10 people, let's say, per month or per year. But again, this is more expensive. It could be, let's say, $900 or $2,000. So you continue to grow from one stage to the next stage, but you use your book right here. Your book is the core to building that business and to continue to grow that business. Because as you build this platform and you build this stabilizing factor, or even you have multiple books, this is what allows you to go from one tier to the next tier to the next tier to really ultimately build out your business, because this is building that business that you have. So it's all about reaching and moving forward to that next stage. But you have to deliver that as a platform now. And when you have that platform, when you have that major audience, once this 10,000, let's just say, is 10 million, now the publishers want you. They want you much more, and they'll help you drive that platform. But initially, these days, you have to become the authorpreneur. So that way, once you become that authorpreneur, you can drive people to the next levels, and eventually you'll become known, and they will want you, and then you can just become the author. It'll be a lot easier in that sense. But climbing that hill on the upward path, that's the difficult part. All right, so there you go. I hope you found this video helpful because looking at things, you're not just an author. You're not just writing books, and you're not going to be successful if that's all you do, if you just write a book. You could use the book in terms of credibility. It does bring you credibility that, hey, now I have that book and I have it in my hands. This is what I wrote, and this is the knowledge that I know. So that does bring credibility, especially it puts your foot in the door. But then you take that to the next stage. You use that credibility and you build on it for whether that's a course, whether you're looking to host a seminar, whether you're looking to do coaching. It takes you to that next step. And it all surrounds yourself around the marketing behind it, around, doing those additional tasks to broadening your horizons, to broadening your exposures, from building the website to having an email list to having a social media presence. You're constantly expanding things, kind of like a web online. So that's what you want to do, especially nowadays with books, prints becoming less and less available, meaning with the digital books, the Kindle books, the ebooks becoming a lot more prevalent. There's just so many more of the books coming out, and most of them are digital, simply for the cost factor and also for what the users want. They just want to download it right to their tablet or device and read it from there. So look at it where the industry is, and that's what you want to focus on. And then look at it from your business standpoint and how you can take your business to that next step and the next step, and how do you take that customer to the next stage within your business. So in either case, thanks for joining me in this video. I hope you really found it helpful. And if you did and you want to see some other training that I have available, then go ahead and click this button and this thumbnail right here. You'll continue watching some of the other training videos that I have. But if you want to get on my newsletter list where I share some exclusive content about business training and entrepreneurship, then click this link right over here on this side, and you'll be taken to the sign up page right away. In the end, remember, do what you love, contribute to other people, but most importantly, live life abundantly. I'll see you next time.